Voices of concern over the looming end to America's global financial dominance are growing louder in the U.S., with news channels, usually polar end of the political divide, in a rare show of unity in their anxiety about a reckoning like never before.
The Fed has solved a series of financial crises by massively expanding its balance sheet, almost 12-fold. This only works because of the dollar's unique status. If that were to wane, America will face a reckoning like none before.
Also, it's been backed up by the strength and economic power of the United States and the fact that oil has always been traded in dollars. If that were to end, that would mean the end of the U.S. dollar.
The wave of panic is beginning to grip politicians, too. U.S. Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene warned that if the dollar falls, Americans will face economic problems never before seen in their history.
I warned the dollar would be replaced with yuan a year ago when Washington decided to wage a proxy war with Russia in Ukraine, and now it's happening. The woman against Ukraine war is going to plunge Americans into economic woes never seen before in our entire history if the dollar falls. They will be to blame and America will never recover.
Earlier, my colleague Nikki Aaron spoke to a panel of guests about the consequences of the fall of America's global financial dominance.
Well, the sanctions gave it a big boost forward. I think the idea was already in the heads of certain leaders because of the buildup in American debt to the rest of the world due to the large American trade deficit. We can see the two things working: the abuse of the dollar as the world reserve currency and the continuing American trade deficits.
Xi Jinping was recently in Moscow for a meeting with the Russian leader. They talked extensively about strengthening the economic ties between China and Russia. How much of a big deal is this development for the global economy?
I think it is a historic moment. Some of us have been pointing out that with the illegal seizure of foreign exchange reserves of sovereign nations within the dollar system, that was a big warning to other sovereign nations to be careful and not keep their precious wealth stored up through exports and hard-earned, work in US dollars. And that, of course, ultimately what is likely to damage the US dollar. But you need an alternative, and that's where the US for a long time has felt quite confident. There is no alternative. The world currency is the US dollar. Well, you can create alternatives. And of course, that's what a lot of countries have done, initially starting with a core group of countries. And you mentioned Russia, China. Of course, that cooperation is crucial. But there is, the bigger group, the BRICS countries, and more countries are joining the BRICS countries. The alternatives are now becoming very concrete and pragmatic.
To what extent do you think the actions of the US and some of its allies, like sanctions, for example, have actually contributed to this global de-dollarization?
We have to be very clear that the US has shot itself in the foot. It has created a situation where countries are in revulsion to American foreign policy and want to get as far away as possible from the US. Strictly from a business point of view, why would you want to invest in the US? And when I say invest, I mean work with the American currency or buy American treasuries. Why? Because that is an investment in the U.S. economy. Why would you want to do it? It's a bad investment. Again, the U.S. is a very destructive geopolitical actor, and it's a very carefree, wanton, licentious financial actor. So it's actually a horrible bet, the U.S. We see that the U.S. is unrepentant. Absolutely unrepentant. I had this naive hope that after we pulled out of Afghanistan, that maybe we're going to be finally a constructive actor in the international arena. And then, of course, what do? They start the war in Ukraine. The U.S. is hopeless. I'm sad, very sorry to say that, but pretty much a hopeless case. And I welcome the rise of new blocs across the globe. That would be great for the global economy.